with the right information to help improve the situation. Here, we're here to stimulate your brain and touch your heart. Empire Talks Back is brought to you by Southern California Edison. If you see a downed power line, do not approach or touch the line or anyone or anything in contact with the line. Call 911 immediately. And of course, West Side Story newspaper, the soul of the Empire, is the other longtime supporter and sponsor of Empire Talks Back. We have with us today in the studio, we have Mr. Wesley Grant. Wesley Grant is not in the studio, but he's in my brain because he's my UCLA partner. I don't know how many times he called me yesterday to let me know that UCLA was winning against USC. But if they charged him every time they did it and they donate that money to the California budget, I think we might be pretty well out of danger. Congratulations to Wesley Grant. He bears the tag Bruin for life, and he is a high school, college buddy of mine, and bugged the hell out of me yesterday.
You mean they had a game yesterday?
Yeah, right. So that's we were just discussing in quiet how secretive or how I guess stealth Mr. Celeste King IV is. He's got the biggest picture in my office of him and President Obama. And his status as a Republican around the state is well known and documented. And his fundraising for everyone who has a true cause is also well documented. Nice to have you in the studio this morning, Mr. King. How you doing?
After that, I don't know.
Trying to set him up.
I see I'm going to be the moderator.
Yeah, we're going to have to do some things here with Mr. King. And, of course, Mr. Andrew Valles, who is not Wallace Allen. For those of you who didn't catch the show last week, he made very clear at the beginning. He made his disclaimer and carried the show very well for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Wallace. I'm not as beautiful as you. I've got that face for radio. That's me.
Well, you know, I'm not going to argue that at all, not because of any extra quality on my part, but my mother always told me that if you can't say something that makes her look good, then don't say anything.
Well, that doesn't apply to your guests, so people that come in and they assist you. You cut them up to know it, and then you put a little butter on them and you say, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Listen, Andrew, I'd like for you to do something for me, and I'm going to do something for our listeners. We are in deep association with our friends at Southern California Edison, and Andrew, give me some conversation here about what's coming up in the holidays with the approaching of decorative days and things of that.
Well, let me ask you this, Wallace. Do you use candles in your house?
No, but start with that one.
Start with that?
Start with this one.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
No.
Come on, I thought this was a script. All right, fine.
What's this,
With the holidays approaching and people preparing for this season with decorative lighting, are there any safety tips the Southern California Edison can offer to its customers?
Well, with close to 83% of people decorating their homes as part of the winter holidays, SCE wants all of their customers to enjoy the holidays and be aware of possible risks associated with decorations. Potential fire hazards such as frayed cords and broken lights can ruin the festivities.
Oh, I see. So, what is the safest way for customers to decorate their homes for the holidays?
Well, don't use decorative lighting with frayed cords or wires or broken fuses or broken light bulbs. Use plastic zip cords when hanging the lights instead of staples, tacks, or nails, because those things will cause problems. Use only a maximum of 3 strands of light per extension cord, and overload could cause a shortage or even a fire.
Okay, so what should customers be aware of when decorating the outside of their homes?
Well, never get closer than 10 feet to a power line. Remember to look up. Trees may have power lines running above, near, or through them. Throwing light strands or electrical cords onto trees near power lines, not a smart thing to do. We don't recommend it. Use wooden or fiberglass ladders when decorating outside. Your metal ladder could conduct electricity and light you up, and that's not what we want to have happen.
Oh, come on. I was looking forward to that. Are there specific types of lights that Southern California Edison recommends?
Well, SCE encourages its customers to use LED lights LED lights are safer to use because they generate much less heat when they operate, so they're less likely to overload a circuit. In addition, LED lights use up to 90% less electricity than conventional light bulbs. Using LED lights can ensure safety, save energy, and money.
All right, now to the question I started off with, folks. Yeah, baby. What about the use of candles, Wallace? And is it safe to utilize them during this time of year? You know,
Well, of course, it's
fine. Little tinsel by the fireplace, perhaps.
Well, it's okay to use candles, but avoid using lighted candles on or near trees and decorations. Don't put a lighted candle on the tree. You could use it off on the distance on the fireplace, but not on the tree. Now, in case of a power outage, use your flashlight instead of the candles. Now, those candles are good for some things, but they're not to replace flashlights.
So not to do the old Tannenbaum. Okay, I get it.
No.
All right, fantastic. Are there any other tips customers might want to know?
Well, remember to unplug decorative lights when you're leaving home and before going to bed, or use a timer. That will ensure safety and will save energy. You don't need to burn them all night long. Now, keep all your indoor trees well watered so they won't dry out and become hazardous. Water that tree. You might want to look at watering that tree twice a day just to be sure that the tree's not sucking up all the water and drying out. Customers should keep electrical connections away from moisture. Water and electricity are a deadly combination. Keep lights directly away from carpeting, furniture, drapes, and other flammable materials. Putting them anywhere other than these locations will help assure safety.
All right. I've heard all this. So how important are these tips in helping customers really for enjoying the holiday season?
Well, almost 6,000 people every year are treated in hospital emergency rooms for falls associated with holiday decorations, and more than half of these injuries were caused by falls from ladders or roofs while decorating outdoors. Home fires can also start with Christmas trees, resulting in death, injury, and property damage. So be real careful about these tips. Use them. Allow yourself to take advantage of time's proven wisdom. And if you have any other concerns about safety tips, you can go online, visit SCE at www.sce.com/holidaysafety. And remember, folks, that's a very serious time. It's a time when we have very tragic accidents because people don't remember to operate safely, doing something that we all, get involved in, decorating our trees, preparing for this holiday season. So, I want to thank SCE for those tips, and we want you to stick around by following those tips and not become some headline that no one wants to read. Okay, as we move forward, we talked a little bit last week, you guys, about the situation with some of the churches here in the Inland Empire, in Southern California, under the pressure of foreclosure brought forth by Broadway Federal Bank. And that, once again, hard to really read what's going on with our friend Celeste King. That's your cousin who runs that bank.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have him on the phone.
Well, actually,
I don't have Paul on the phone, so I thought, are you here as a family member to kind of defend their circumstance, or can you tell us a little bit more about it?
That's a business institution that I have no affiliation with. I mean, yeah, Paul's my cousin, and he's a great guy.
Listen, I see a picture of you with President Obama.
Well, I also had one with President Bush.
That you might have some influence and power. And I'm just asking, are you going to be able to use that to help these people? What's Core California's business?
When you say help these people, who are we referring to?
Well, as a Republican, I was going to jam you up on which side of the issue you were going to be on. Are you going to help the bank? Are you trying to help the bank continue to make trivial of people's lives? Or are you going to help the people at the churches try to straighten out what's going on?
I think I would reframe that. I think if you really look at it from my perspective is I want to see the best outcome for both parties.
Boy, who did we elect? Whoever we elected, we should move him over to the left a little bit and make room for Mr. King. His diplomacy, whoever they're considering for Secretary of State, I think we need to throw your name in the hat.
Well, hang on here a second.
That was the biggest non-answer I've ever heard in my life. Hello, Miss Lita. How are you? How do we, Mr. King, Mr. Valles, how do we draw a line down the middle of this circumstance where you have churches that have loans that are now being forced into foreclosure because, first of all, they weren't able to pay those loans back for one reason or another. Now, the other aspect of this, however, is the loan institution had been instructed to cease and desist its activities toward foreclosure, and I understand the mortgage business at all. So we've got a situation where you've got a bank that's owed money, but a bank that has been told by the state that it cannot proceed with its foreclosure process. Am I correct in that?
To some degree, yeah. You know, it's kind of an oversimplification because there are actually levels of participation with banks. The notes themselves or the mortgages as such are not actually held by Broadway Federal. They're actually held by another service corporation. That service corporation has received a suspension by the state of California, and there's language in that suspension that directly applies to churches.
It directly applies to churches?
Right.
And does this language, well, I think that's a step, that's a
now,
couple of questions ahead of the step here.
Here again, when you talk about modifications, you know, the entity that's servicing the loan has some degree of ability to make a determination as the modification, but in reality, you know, in the final analysis, it's the actual holder that actually has the final decision. Now, the way these things have been handled, and they've been kind of thrown into a blender, the actual holder now comes into, you know, like who really is. So they've created this artificial entity, and the artificial entity now controls the process.
Okay, so Broadway Federal, as a bank, doesn't control the process, but they initiated the loans. There is a service corporation now that has the control of the loan and is foreclosing on these churches. Is that correct?
The foreclosure takes place by the service corporation.
Yeah.
Okay, they're the ones who. Now, what happens is there is a creation of an instrument, and that instrument is what holds title to the property.
You know, money's not that confusing, but it's being confusing right now. We're going to take a short break and come back and see if we can unconfuse this situation about money. It's pretty straightforward.
It's not that straightforward, but it is.
You're supposed to get something back for it, and I don't know, but we'll be right back to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll make it real simple.
Okay, very good.
We'll cut it back in.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen on the case for truth and justice, and my brain is being stimulated, but my heart has not been touched. We'll be right back after this and see if we can move this thing around a little bit and understand what's going on with some kind of conviction so that we'll know how to pray our way out of this problem. Thank you. Dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah.
Dollar bills. Dollars for them, bills for you. I'm not sure how it works out, but I tell you what. Everybody's going to get their share. Everybody's going to end up wearing their own clothes because the shadow is only where the body goes. Everybody pays. It ain't a tax. It's more like dues. The price is something their actions choose. So whenever you make one, you make two.
Sounds good, but you know
one for them and one for you. So be sure that whatever you make ain't more than you want to take. Well, sure enough, through the arc, down the line, you're bound to get what you thought was mine. Now, some of these banks think they're inconveniencing me or you when they do some of these things that they're doing. They loan us some money. That's the bank. Then, as they create the money, after we borrow the money, they then set us up a payment plan and a person to pay. You call it a servicer, right?
Well, the bank, the lending institution generally is the one who provides the services, the loan, so to speak.
Okay. Well, now but when it comes time for this foreclosure to take place, now who's doing that? The bank or the servicer?
Well, you see, the bank doesn't actually retain title. What happens is that when you're in the escrow process, all of the title is assigned to a service.
Listen, there's somebody beating on my door named Jake telling me to get the heck up out of this house or he's going to do something.
And that's the service company.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the service
but that's
company.
not the bank.
But now watch this.
Now wait a minute.
Now
so
hold it. This is important. with most banks, they do not create their own service company. They contract to another company.
A guy named Jake.
In Broadway Federal's case, they didn't do it with a guy named Jake. They took and created their own. They had a birth.
Cousin Jake.
They had a birth.
This is
a direct descendant. This is an offspring.
Oh,
So
okay.
they created their son,
Okay.
and their son's name was Broadway Federal Service Corporation.
Oh, okay.
And that is the service corporation that in normal situations would be Jake.
So sometimes we confuse the father with the son.
That in itself creates problems.
Well, no, I mean, your dad named you after him. My dad named me after him. I named
Right,
my
but he
son
didn't
after
give
me.
you title to anything either.
Oh.
Here, look at it this way, Wallace, so we can, break this down for everybody out there in radio.
Yeah, because I want the people to know who they should be upset with. Should they be upset with the dad that they borrowed the money from, or the son that's beating their door down every day trying to kick them out?
Both of them.
In this particular case, both.
So.
In
Okay.
this particular
Both
case,
of them.
both. All right, let's just play, as best as we can on the radio.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say that I want to buy a house.
Yes,
Right?
you buy the house.
Okay, I decide to go over to Celeste, Mr. King.
This one.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my little promissory note and all my documents for the mortgage. I'm going to give them over to you.
Oh, you're gonna give me the documents that says you're purchasing from Mr. King.
Yeah, you are my trustee.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm getting paid for this.
You bet you are.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to hold on to that paperwork. Mr. King is going to make certain that you get the money to deal with this transaction. You get paid for it, but you don't profit. You get paid for the services you're providing, but you don't have an ancillary profit. You are an independent third party.
You bought the house from Mr. King.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who's receiving the money.
You're receiving the money so that it can go out to buy the property that I want.
Okay.
Okay? I'm giving you the paperwork.
I'm now your agent. Okay, I've got the paperwork for the house that you want to buy from Mr. King.
Right.
And I'm going to now take this
And he's going to
paperwork.
finance me, right.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
but you are independent third party.
yes,
All right.
but I got some money.
But you got some money.
You just gave me the down payment.
Well, down payment, that has to go toward the
Purchase.
the
of the
purchase and as well as the payback to Mr. King.
house. Okay.
All right? So you are an independent. You're making certain that all the parts to the transaction get done properly. But let's say, for example, that I default. That means I miss too many payments. I don't keep my end of the contract, my end of the bargain.
Okay.
Okay? You are now also an agent for
Mr.
Celeste.
Yes.
Because he's owed money, but he can't collect because I'm not paying anymore in this example.
And he usually collects it from me after I collect it from you.
Because what you do is you foreclose on the property.
Okay, so since you haven't been paying, I'm saying, well, Mr. Baez, you haven't been paying me, so Mr. King is on my butt over here. I need to put you out of that house.
And I need to
foreclose this.
and capture the property because
yes.
I got a lien to the property.
Yes.
Right. That's what's supposed to happen there.
Okay.
That's not what's happening with Broadway Federal. Like I said, you're supposed to be an independent third party. What has happened, and Celeste is correct, is you got the parent. There's supposed to be another independent adult in the room, making certain that there's this. I don't like the term, but it's appropriate. This triangular trade.
Okay.
Okay, but Broadway Federal, Broadway Service Corporation are one and the same. So in the state of California particularly, you're supposed to be an independent third party, but how can that be when you're in the same house?
Okay.
How can you be independent? How can you not have a...
Well, I'm as big as he is. I weigh as much as he is, but we're really sharing the money.
You bet.
So independence isn't, based on can I feed myself. It's based on the fact that he and I are colluding and conspiring.
There appears to be on the surface a paper separation, but in reality it's blurred.
But now, who's to say that that's illegal?
The state of
The state
California.
of California did, and that's why that's one of the reasons they suspended the service
okay.
corporation.
So at this point, since the state of California has defined this as an illegal circumstance and situation, we can now immediately count on our Attorney General coming across the mountain, riding that horse, and dun, 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 and they're on their way to save us now, right?
No.
Well, wait a minute. I thought somebody did something wrong, according to the state.
They did.
And we've got a state attorney general that can look at the law and see that these people clearly have broken statutes, not some kind of opinion that, well, maybe they did this, but specifically have done things that were wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe they're just being...
Remember,
Hold on, let me see. Maybe they're just being extra liberal and kind because Broadway Federal had such a wonderful mission when it was started. Are there other banks that do this?
Yes.
But surely Kamala, Miss Harris, the State Attorney General for the state of California, is on them now.
No.
no.
Oh, come on, guys. Miss Lita. I'm inclined to wonder, is this some kind of gender situation? Or is this what any Attorney General would do? Is Miss Harris having a softer heart than men would have on this, Miss Lita? I'm just asking. I've got two experts here, Miss Lita, who are making these two gentlemen are making very specific statements about statutes of the law that have been broken.
Want me to break this down even further?
I'm just...
You know what?
I'm confused.
You know what? If we had video, I'll actually do. But the thing is that, I mean, if I could just, dance up and bust a jig right here, here's how I would move. Okay?
Bust a move.
You gotta bust a move on this one. All right. Here's how this has been done. Okay? Given the example that we just went through, you have too many institutions who are doing this. I won't get into naming any names. Bank of America. I won't get into contrast. But the bottom line.
Well, listen now. I bank at Wells Fargo. Are they doing it too? Because should they be left out? Oh, okay. What about Chase?
Okay. So and I guess our control room is just—they're laughing at that.
She's laughing with us.
And now you can begin to understand why there's no movement.
The thing is that, and before we went to break, okay, there was a comment about people going to jail. No one's going to go to jail over this.
Well, but they're doing terrible harm.
What ended up, Lita, was that there was a fellow by the name of Ryan.
Paul Ryan.
And Mr. Ryan was in fact fined $100,000 and barred from participation in the financial industry for life.
Well, with the way everything else is going on, they're probably letting.
No.
But they're probably letting him run a bank or something now because.
Yeah, and if it's third strike, he might be gone forever.
I'm
at a loss for words for about 2 seconds.
Wow,
what the heck is going on?
That's amazing.
Well, 2 seconds, it's over now.
It's over now.
Kamala seems like such a maybe I shouldn't be first naming. Maybe I should not be first naming her like that because what you guys are saying.
Watch this.
Yes, Attorney General. Yes, Attorney
General.
Well,
she's
Harris.
Attorney General Harris, but she's also Kamala. Okay, and but here's the thing. Watch this. This did not start when she went into office. This preceded her by a long shot.
It also preceded the previous Attorney General as well.
So, Right. So I mean, you're not talking about something that's that all of a sudden she just immediately just looked over.
You know, so my little monthly argument with the 2 or 3 banks that I deal with about, you know, overcharging me for walking in the bank and things like that. You mean I'm not alone?
No, there are millions. Millions of people just like you and just like those who are listening.
Well, you know what? I'm willing to take my money. I mean, I'm willing to take all $3 or $4 out of every one of these banks and put them somewhere else. What?
Look at it this way. What's happening?
How do we let people who have such heavy controls on our money do things like this? And you know, I'm willing to pay the police. Here, if I lived in the city of San Bernardino, which I don't officially do, but my heart is here, I'd be paying 75% of my city's budget for public safety, a great portion of that to the fire department and the police department and the city attorney. I would expect, I want to please, let me, Miss Leader. Yeah, because, I mean, you know, we got a long complaint list, but I just want to point at that money to those people. Those people should be able to go into a bank that's doing business in my city and see them operating out of statute, and not necessarily close them down, but they could take the local manager to jail for a few minutes, or they could handcuff him and let him go, or do something to let it be known that what these people are doing inside of our city is illegal. Am I out of line?
You're not out of line, however, in a lot of instances.
We have a lot of folks that are frustrated out there. Maybe instead of being mad at the mayor, we ought to go stand outside one of these banks until the police that we are paying draws forth the city attorney that we are paying to make them come and do something to these people who are playing with our money.
What about when their lawyer? What about when their lawyer tells you you don't have jurisdiction?
That's why I would have the city attorney there, because he got jurisdiction.
The city attorney doesn't have jurisdiction.
How about the city clerk? How about the city clerk?
No.
You got to do business. They got to pay their business license.
They don't have jurisdiction.
Okay, I don't want to ask you, Miss Lita. Let me answer your question. These guys, they're too tough for me. Miss Lita, what is your question?
The diversion tactic.
You're trying to make me laugh. You're trying to make me laugh. I'm mad. I pay these guys. I pay these guys a good salary. But Miss Lita, I pay them a good salary. Miss Lita, how can somebody I'm not trying to put race in this, Miss Lita. Oh, okay. Well, Miss Lita, I'm just trying to get along. Well, now you're telling me something very important. If I live in the city of San Bernardino and they're getting ready to describe their way out of bankruptcy or their way into it, the number one bill that they owe is to CalPERS for retirement monies for public safety people, and of course some of the other employees. So if I can't get the police and the city attorney to go and protect me at a basic level in my city against banks that have to have business licenses and business conduct that goes along with everybody else's, then what the hell good are they?
If you have a business license, all you have to do is keep it current.
Well, so on.
You know, I mean, that's a very simple idea.
down. Well, what the big thing is, you're right. And you're right. What that's pointing out is that there are some who are not stepping up to do what they're supposed to do.
If I can jump in here. If I can jump.
Oh, yeah. No.
No. Hold on. Cut that song for a moment. No. As much as I love that song, we got to get some payback.
Oh, can you play the payback song?
We need some payback.
Okay.
Okay, let's take this break, and let's come back, and let's talk about
the big payback. You got James playing the big payback?
We come on.
That's what.
We got to get back.
Well, we can sing it anyway.
We need some get back. Payback.
It's time for the big payback. Okay, let's go on. You play us out of this. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back. We'll allow ourselves to get gathered up to discuss this. But, folks, the issue is, to me, and apparently Miss Lita, thank you, Miss Lita, let's gang up on these guys. See, it seems to be that everybody wants to blame Washington or the state about what's going on here in the city and the county. We have elected officials at the city level, at the county level, that have authority. They need to be able to step up and do what we need for them to do. I've got a district attorney that anytime somebody gets sick or pretends that they're sick and tries to collect insurance, he takes their butt straight to jail. But it's okay for bankers and other people to do contracts, move bunches of money, not pay their tax, and move on and have a big luncheon and damn press conference and folks come out to... I'll tell you what, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to show you what we broke. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. You guys be sure to bring yourselves back from this.
See, the thing about all this stuff is that when you begin to talk about jurisdictional levels, there are the states. There are some state things that are doable. You see, but there are a whole lot of things where the state has no authority whatsoever.
When the people understand their ability to do nothing.
In regard to banks, and there are areas where the state has absolutely no control.
It don't make no difference.
It makes a lot of difference.
I'm saying it does. It does, but it doesn't. Because if the people at the local level start gathering up and protesting and acting a dumb fool.
Here's the thing, Wallace, and this is what Celeste is touching on. But most people haven't seen it. It's that in the 90s, the rules changed to such a degree to where banks, they got to choose their regulator.
Right.
And the reason a lot of them went with the Office of Thrift Supervision, or they went with I forget the other regulators at the moment, but the FDIC. The thing is that they went through and they said, hey, I'm going to pick the regulator I want. And the reason that a majority of them went with the Office of Thrift Supervision is because you could complain at the state level all you want. It means nothing. You got to go federal, and that's a much more sticky proposition.
Show me a circumstance and situation where an individual doing anything has the same kind of ability to pick and choose who the people are that are going to regulate.
No other business.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But who gave them that opportunity?
Just dumb people.
Did.
The dumb people in the dope. I didn't
That's
know the
attributable to corporate person.
Right, but hold it. Here's why they did. When I said you did,
this is why the boy said by any means necessary, because it comes to a certain point that all the rules you put together are simply your rules for holding me down. And I'm not going to dance to that music anymore.
You didn't say that.
Big payback, y'all. If I didn't write the rule, I agreed to the rule, but I find that the rule is holding me down, got some elephant foot on my head, and I'm supposed to say, well, since I agreed to the elephant dance, it's okay for the elephant to have his foot on my head. Get that damn elephant foot off my head. I didn't know what I was talking about. We need to rearrange, redo, restructure, straighten this thing out. I did not know that agreeing to the elephant dance meant that the elephant got to dance on my head. I did not agree that when I voted for allowing the bank regulators to have certain amount of authority, this, that, and the other, that they were going to be able to turn around and misrepresent the truth the way they do with their banking principles and have my elected officials side against me and say, well, you said it was okay for the elephant dance, and now you voted for it, and that's the way it is. no, this isn't working, it's not right. Ray Charles could look at it and see that this is wrong.
Yeah.
So based on that, I'm saying, well, I can understand that maybe we agreed to do some things that we thought were going to work nicely together, but now that I find that the only one at the table getting to eat is you, I would like to readjust my approach.
All of that sounds great in terms of the legislative
Revolution.
approach. Hold it. In terms of the legislative approach to change the legislation. However, we all know that we live in a cash-driven legislative process. So the reality is that if in fact you get it done, it'll take so long to get it done that it's not going to impact in terms of where you need to be impacted. However, because of what they have done and because of the current legal structure in regard to how they were supposed to have operated, you have an opportunity to tap them in the pocketbook. And when you can tap them in the pocketbook, and also because of the extraordinary methodology they've employed to expand this thing to a global perspective.
Okay, let me get back to tap them in the pocketbook.
No, listen to me. When to a global perspective, you have the ability to change the system almost overnight because of their fear of collapse of their operational system. And you have that power.
So what? About by saying tonight, instead of making a run on the bank, simply to ask for my money, that I'm going to make a run on the bank to move my money to another place? How do we do this? This is what I want. How do I tickle the elephant enough to make it move his big foot up off my head?
That's what Jamal Lilly over there has come up with a program. And it's called Operation Lightbulb.
Well, now it's time.
He's out in front.
Now you've stimulated my brain. Now maybe he can touch my heart. Talk to me. What's going on, Jamal?
Wallace, I woke up with a horny toad in my throat this morning.
Careful now. Careful now. I thought you were trying to...
No.
Okay.
And for those of you in Radio Land, Wallace is looking like he was dressed for TV this morning.
That's because I remember that we are being recorded by our friend Flo from Flo Productions. And if you folks want to see what we look like tomorrow, you can go to the website, and he has videoed our presentation. And yes, I did put on a jacket.
Yeah, the turtleneck.
And a little turtleneck, really nice. And I make my mama proud, and I didn't warn everybody else because I wanted to look different.
There's it.
Yeah, and these guys, they look great all the time anyway, so.
Operation Lightbulb. The main way that we can explain this, to cut to the chase, is that the organization that we've created enables people to interface with the bank in a manner that consolidates their power. What that means is they're not approaching the bank like an individual. They're approaching the bank financial institution to financial institution. They're multiplying the power that they have by creating an estate that's represented and underwritten by a financial institution. That would be SafeCare. What that does more than anything else is it puts the individual on an equal, or at least more equal, playing field. That when you combine that one estate with several others that the insurance company is representing all together, now you've created an economic block the bank can't ignore from various standpoints.
Okay, so I don't want to say it like that because I'm not trying to incite violence or anything like that, but they got their boys and you got your boys.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. So
Pretty much,
as they get ready to gang up on you, well, you are able to show some kind of unity.
If we're going to go with street terms, I'm sorry, Ms. Lita, go ahead. Right. If we're going to just put it in street terms, big bank takes little bank, well, this is insurance, which is bigger bank, taking smaller bank, which is just the banking industry. The idea being that without the insurance underwriting power, the banks can't do what they do. So if you tick off the insurance industry, you've precluded your ability to do certain things as a bank has been accustomed to doing under these laws we're talking about, which is operating like a casino, which is doing things outside of the law and getting away with it. All those things, they don't care about the liability because they've got this insurance back here that's allowed them to transfer risk. So if they get caught, if it goes bad, anything like that, the insurance company picks up the tab, not them, and so they don't really care.
So we're getting ready to steal their bodyguard.
That's a better way to put it.
Ah, so the banks have this bodyguard.
Leroy.
Leroy has been
So
protected.
Jake,
Leroy.
so now
But it-
Jake
but
gets
it's a-
put in the corner.
Yeah, but in the form of insurance, the ability to not worry about losses or risk because they've got Leroy, the insurance, to back them on anything that they're doing. Leroy is going to pay the check.
But Leroy has recently become ticked off.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I see a representative for Leroy in the room. Mr. Fayez, you are CEO of a insurer, reinsurer. You are the ones, your company is the one that the banks have been able to depend on backing their play.
Well, our industry, yes.
Oh, you see, Mr. King, see how he did not over-identify with those guys?
No, I'm not.
I mean, I
Here-
just
here's-
wanted to
here-
show
here's-
you that he had a way
here's-
to
here's what I
slide out from under
No,
the
there's
title.
no sliding, and there's no.
Okay.
There's,
It's
there's
an
no,
accurate depiction.
Well, no, he's on our side now. It's okay.
Yeah.
Tell us what you can do as we remove you from being the protector of the banks and their illegitimate activities that has ticked you off.
Oh.
How can we take advantage of your ability or desire to straighten things out?
Oh, then no one has to take advantage. We're glad to do it. What
Yeah, because
here-
it actually helps both sides.
exactly. So let's look at it from this
I
perspective.
don't want to help their side. I want to get even.
Oh, yes,
I
you do.
want
Yes,
to
you
fix.
do.
I do.
Yes,
You know why
it's
you do?
imperative you do.
Can I
Because if-
don't we want to leave a fingerprint on their face? They look at the.
Oh, no, you
here,
can-
look at the footprint in my behind.
it's
I don't-
castor
you mean it's-
oil, Wallace.
Yeah.
They don't want to take it, but
Yeah.
it's actually good for them.
So I can watch them taste.
You can
castor
watch them
oil.
make the
Yeah.
faces when you give them the dose of castor
I've
oil,
had
but at the
castor
end of the
oil.
day, they're going to end up healthy.
I've had
And they
castor
don't even
oil.
realize it.
And we always remember this, when you were talking about the Leroy, it's like my mother always said, there are a couple of things that happen in your lifetime. You're born, you die, and in between, it's called S happens. And then she always told me this,
Sherman.
and this is what happens here. It rolls downhill, and you don't want to get splattered. It's that simple.
So look
Yes.
at it this way. Leroy and I, we've had a conversation.
Okay.
Okay. And Leroy and I, we decided, Andrew, I'm over here and I'm seeing all these problems. I don't know how to fix them. Here I am saying,
Problems with the bank and the way they're handling money.
Oh, yeah,
and
they're
doing the
calling-
deal and mistreating people.
and I got these title companies
and
coming
feeling
at
like
me
they're
saying,
forced into doing it.
yeah, like it's someone else's problem, but they created it. This isn't my problem, man. Let me dump this off on you. So here comes Leroy. Hey, can you help me fix this because I can't see what's going on?
Because I don't want this liability fixed.
Exactly. And so my response is, well, I'll tell you what. You want the big payback? Here's how you do it. Okay, first you can either go through and do court actions and get sanctions and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that'll be helpful, particularly if you're,
Send somebody to jail.
Right. I mean, that's helpful.
That makes me feel better.
It's helpful, but do you really want that to happen? No, you want the deterrent factor is what you really
don't
want.
really
10 years
out
down
of
the
it.
line,
Yeah,
too,
yeah, exactly. Or do you want to do competition? Okay, and that's where I was going to say earlier, before everyone started ganging up on Mr. King. Okay,
He's got big shoulders.
and he doesn't need any protection. But here's what I'm going to say: the only way in which to deal with a situation like this is to fight business with business. You deal with this from a perspective of competition. And if there's anything that the insurance and reinsurance industry can do that the banks can't, and they absolutely detest this, is we have the power to audit. And that means that we're going to audit the trail. For every client who comes through Royal Ambers and becomes a Safe Care client, we're going to go through and say, all right,
Okay.
we need to know the scene of the crime. We need to know who was there, what happened, what the skid marks represent. We need to know all this stuff.
Audit really means investigate, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Kind of
does.
like
That's what it
CSI.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
Discovery.
and you got all of the tools and
We got more tools. We don't even need a subpoena from Congress to do this. We don't need a subpoena at all.
So how does Billy Jones or Reverend Wells, how do they take advantage of your situation here or the circumstance that they're in? They've got the echo of Leroy. Now maybe Leroy doesn't want to be there, but he's got his foot all the way up their elbows.
Here's the first.
Twisting and turning, telling them they got to get out of their property. They got to come up with some money.
Yeah, man, got it. The first step to solving a problem is to realize that there is one. And the thing is that for Mr. Jones and for Reverend Chicken Wing and whoever else out there, okay, the whole thing is they got to do one thing first, and that is stop believing.
Pastor, he was not talking about you. It's another reverend.
Yeah,
Right.
Different guy.
Different guy. But the thing is that he has to stop believing, number one, what his attorneys are telling him, and number two, get down to something that is this really idiotic thing. It's called thinking. And start looking at the information and start looking at the data for what it is. And stop listening to your bankers who were saying, oh, that information that they came up with from the SEC and from the Office of the...
You mean the same time that people are trying to go through a modification or trying to get answers from their bank, they've gone out to hire a lawyer. Oh my goodness, I did say hire. And that means the lawyer wants to get paid to do whatever it takes to keep getting money from you.
To make a deal on your dime.
Make a deal on your dime. The bank, of course, may or may not be, as we find, in a position to make any kind of deal, but of course they will accept your money. And accepting your money doesn't
They will accept your money under a pretense, and then when it comes time to act upon the pretense, will tell you that is no longer a viable situation.
Do they give you
a new monetary level to meet that you cannot meet? And in the interim time, they will proceed to remove you from your property.
They set you up to fail.
Right.
So, okay, once the pastor and Mr. Jones decide that they are no longer going to continue to listen to the people who have pulled them into this hole, what do?
Give us a call.
Us being first, they need
Royal
to
Ambers.
We'll call Royal Ambers.
Right.
Or any of the representatives.
Any of the
That's
representatives.
what you have to do.
Yeah.
You can't call Royal Amber directly per se.
Yeah.
You have to deal with one of our supervisory administrators, of which Court California is one. And they're dealing directly with these churches that have been aggrieved by this process. So you can contact Court California, and they would give you the ability to get started with the process, and they will explain what's going on in plain English, despite what we've heard a lot of times on this show, which is that our conversation is way up in the clouds and people don't understand it. When you come and sit down with Court California or one of our other supervisory administrators, they'll break it down to you in easy to understand terms.
And you have the opportunity
so that you
to ask
will know
questions.
what you are getting yourself into.
So whether
Unlike
if
the
you're
banks.
if you're in default and you know you're in default, whether they've done an active foreclosure on you or not, giving Court California a call.
If you're in default, if you've already been foreclosed on, or if you are in imminent foreclosure danger, right?
What is that number, Celeste?
Our 800 number is 800-834-5464, and our regular number is 323-296-5464.
Now, we'll give you that number again. One of the reasons I'm asking about this process is that, Andrew, I brought to your attention that there's a story that says, foreclosures have gone down in the county of San Bernardino, all across the state, that the number of foreclosures have gone down. Reading that would make one assume that the number of houses that are facing foreclosure or in foreclosure or in default or no longer owned in reality by a homeowner, that circumstances has dwindled. What is the real deal?
The real deal is a lot of these financial institutions are realizing that their feet are being held to the fire. For example, one of the things that the Attorney General's office is doing is very quietly and behind the scenes is advising the financial institutions of, hey, you're doing foreclosures, okay, you do realize you need to do a notice of default, and you must allow 90 days. And after that 90 days, then you can do a notice of trustee sale, then you must wait 20 days. And if you try to accelerate anything beyond this, we'll be on you. And so what has happened is that there have been financial institutions who have done the notice of default, there's been some sort of court action, bankruptcy, whatever, on behalf of the homeowner, and then there is a rescission of the notice of default, not in all cases, but in some cases. The issue with that is when that initial order or that notice has been rescinded, the bank has to do the whole thing all over again, and they're not. And they've been caught.
Another issue, several other issues. First of all, there's getting ready to be major legislative changes that are going to be implemented as of January 1st. The banks that haven't already started that 90-day process in time to complete it by the conclusion of this calendar year, they're simply just waiting until the new legislative process, new legislation kicks in, so that they'll be in compliance and all that kind of thing. The other thing is we just came out of an election season. Nobody wants folks getting kicked out of their homes when they're needing votes from those same folks. So I'm sure, and I have no proof of this, but we know how the political system works. I'm sure that there was a wink, wink, shove, shove, nudge, nudge type of arrangement to just tamp that down for the third quarter leading up to the election, so that no one has any reason to look at the guy sitting in the seat already and saying we don't want you there because we're having a hard time here.
And also, to go along with that, what they've done is they've started a huge marketing program saying that the inventory of houses for sale is reduced and the market is now solidifying. Prices going up.
This is what's happening. Right. What the banks are doing is they're holding on to inventory so they can trickle it out into the market and artificially prop up the prices of houses again and create another bubble.
Don't exhale. Don't exhale.
What was that number again?
Give you that number, 800 number.
The 800 number is 800-834-5464, and the regular number is 323-296-5464.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. Thank you for joining us. We have enjoyed talking to you. We look forward to being with you next week on the case for truth and justice. The right information to help improve the situation. Stimulate your brain, touch your heart. God bless you. See you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Good.
That's the one you asked
It's
for.
kind of psychedelic, man.
That's Carter's.